all of us have just gone through a life-changing storm. As you know, Harvey descended on the Texas coast with a fury seldom seen before. First, it smashed Corpus Christi and Rockport as a Category 4 hurricane. Then it came to Houston to visit us, and it poured down historic amounts of water over the greater Houston area. At our house, for instance, we measured 38 inches of rainfall. But that was on the low side. Many areas received 50+ inches. And in Copperfield, Harvey dumped 62 inches of rain. Meteorologists tell us that 9 trillion gallons of water fell from the sky. Enough, they say, to fill the Great Salt Lake twice over. Put another way, they say that it's enough water to cover the entire 48 lower states 3 pennies deep. It's staggering. Remember, Katrina, for all of its devastation, the hurricane rainfall total was actually only 16 inches. Harvey's officially is over 52, making it the greatest single rainstorm in U.S. history. I know your hearts break, as does mine, by the human loss, the magnitude. Families whose homes are underwater, and for those who even now are living in shelters, not sure what lies ahead. What I want you to know is that your church is responding in a major way. That won't surprise you. But I want you to know that from the moment we could bubble up on Monday, we began getting out of our flooded neighborhoods, we came to the church, and we began planning our relief efforts, strategizing, and galvanizing an army of volunteers. I am so proud of you for the way you've responded. In a moment, John Hall, our lead missions pastor, will fill you in on all the details of what's happened so far, what lies ahead, and how you can help. We intend to help every family we possibly can, but we also want to make sure that we don't overlook those from our own immediate church family. Already I've reached out to a number of those members, the ones that I currently know about who suffered loss. And 5 families from our own church ministry staff took water into their homes, including Pastor Joy Johnston. They had to evacuate, and water 4 feet high filled their first floor. In closing, let me tell you a decision that we've made, which I'm sure you will understand and support. We have indefinitely postponed our Reach Capital campaign. This $30 million project was to launch next Sunday and culminate in early October. We're poised and ready. After nearly 2 years of hard work and diligent preparation, I've even gotten my first Reach sermon written, completely done. That's historic. But with the tragedy which has hit us, now is not the time for us to go forward. Reach is mightily important, but responding to this devastation is more important. Remember our mission statement: win people to Jesus Christ, disciple them in faith, and help those in need. Now is the time for us to focus as never before on helping those in need. Let's roll up our sleeves and go to work, and open our wallets and give generously to help those who are in urgent need. And now I want you to hear from John Hull.
As Dr. Robb has told you, there's been so much destruction in our community and so many people are hurting. And we as a church are responding. We offered to become a shelter here at our church, and instead we were asked if we would be a distribution center, and that's what we're doing. I have to tell you that within 15 minutes of posting on our website the things we need to help those in shelters, you responded. Cars were lined up at our door, dropping off donations. As those donations came in the one door, we were organizing them and planning them with about 300 volunteers who were here. And immediately they went out the other door and were loaded into a truck and sent to the shelters to help those in need. This is a church that's responding, and we are so proud of you. So you might be wondering what lies ahead for us now. We're dividing the flood ministry into 3 phases. The first phase is helping those that are in the shelters. We want to get to them those materials that they need to survive today, and that's what you've been doing, and it will continue for a while. Phase 2 of this project will be to go into their homes once the water recedes, and we want to be able to help them to get out the wet carpeting and their furniture and those things so that they can begin to restore their homes. Phase 3 will then be once they move back into their homes. They have lost just about everything, so we want to help to provide those basic things, towels and sheets and kitchen utensils, that will help them to begin to restore their lives once more. So you're wondering how you can help. As we move through the 3 stages of the flood ministry, things are constantly changing. So do us a favor and please check the church website and the church Facebook page every day, because each day we will be posting those things you can bring, donate, or how you can help personally. In addition, we ask you to go to the website today, and if you have not already done so, you can sign up there to let us know that you're willing to volunteer. With that list, we will send you updates every time an opportunity comes up. And lastly, you can make a donation, either a financial donation here to the church, to the website, or by writing a check and marking it disaster relief, or you can provide gift cards from Target, Walmart, or one of the local grocery stores. We are so appreciative of you. We know you are a church with a heart, and you have the love of Christ within you as we reach out to touch the people in our community that are in great need.
If you're like me, and I know that you are, you found tears in your eyes as you watched your TVs this past week and saw stranded people, stranded with their families, fearing for their lives, or walking in waist-deep water, forced to leave behind their homes and their hopes. But you also found yourself weeping with stories of ordinary people who have risen to the occasion, people who could not sit idly by, people who could not stay at home, but people who at times traveled hundreds of miles, often at risk and personal cost, in order to get involved and work in a shelter and see how they can assist. Next Sunday, I'm going to tell you a story of one such group from North Carolina. Let me also tell you that as we've watched these past few days, I've never been more moved by the suffering of fellow Houstonians. At the same time, I've never been prouder of our community. I guess Charles Dickens' famous opening line of A Tale of Two Cities, it describes these last 7 days. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. We've seen both the best and the worst here in Texas. Now, I'm not going to speak long this morning. We've come to worship, to hear a few words. We're going to pray for those who are hurting. And we're going to then receive the Lord's Supper and go home. I have these 2 thoughts I want to share with you. First is about what brings us together. Often it's something like we've just experienced, a common tragedy which brings us together. I heard a Texas politician being interviewed this last week and frankly was being baited by the reporter to criticize the mayor of Houston for not having ordered an evacuation. But the senator didn't take the bait and wisely responded, there'll be plenty of time later to figure out how we could have done things differently. But for today in Texas, there are no Republicans, there are no Democrats. There are no conservatives and no progressives. There are no blacks or whites or Latinos. Today in Texas, there are just people who care for one another and want to help one another. It was the same way, wasn't it, after 9/11? There were no Yankees nor Southerners. There were no liberals or conservatives. That didn't matter. There were no New Yorkers or Texans. No, there were just people who forgot their differences and remembered that we are more alike than we are different, that we all have hopes and dreams, and that we all want to live in peace, and that we all want our children to be safe, and we all want to belong somewhere, and we all want to love somebody and be loved by somebody, and that we want to make our lives count. And we want to live in a country where everyone is treated with respect, and that we all need help from time to time. For some reason, when we face a tragedy, finally these blinders fall off and we're able to see more clearly. There is a shift which occurs, and no longer do we see people in categories. We don't see them on the basis of wealth or geography or ethnicity or education or politics even. We just see people who look like we do in all the ways which truly matter. And we remember what we all know in our hearts but are prone to forget, and that is every life matters. Every life is important, just as our lives are important. I wonder why too often it takes a tragedy to remind us of these truths. I'm guessing that you've sensed a concern. It's permeated our neighborhoods and our community and our entire greater Houston area and Texas. People ask me when I'm out and about, and when I see them, they'll say, "Are you all okay?" Oftentimes it's strangers. "Did you guys weather the storm okay?" And I've sensed that they really mean it. It's not just polite conversation. It feels sincere, and it feels real, and it feels real good. And I think to myself, wouldn't it be just wonderful if it could be like this all of the time? It should be, right? Because people are no different today than they were before Harvey. And the differences that separated us last Sunday were no more important than they are today. And that the reasons that we should treat each other with kindness and warmth and concern are no greater this morning than they were before the storm. So what changed? Nothing. Except a tragedy made us remember what we've always known but are prone to forget, that everyone we meet is dear to God and therefore should be dear to us. I wonder if there's a way that we might remember, that we might hold on to this truth. And if we do, then this storm, is horrendous as it is, at least something could come from it which is good. Oh, dear friends, life is better when we are kind and caring to one another. Now, here's the second thought that I've had. It's this: I have never been prouder of this church. The way that you've jumped into action, helping those in need. Here's a comment that I've heard in different forms and fashions all week long, oftentimes in the hallways. People will say, "Oh, Pastor, it is so inspiring seeing the church in action." Others would say, oh, there is just so much love spilling out of this place. And others, as they would drive by on Monday, especially Monday, rain was coming down. And we were there receiving donations. Oh, how quickly you all went online and saw the list of donations which were needed. And you began responding, and it was raining. And so we were out there in the rain and directing the cars in 2 by 2 under the porte-cochere to unload. I thought it's just like the ark, 2 by 2. And so many people said to me, oh, it is so heartwarming to see this church responding. Oh, I've been proud of you, and with good reason. Because you've never forgotten what matters most. Loving people as God first loved us. Oh, I've heard so many stories of how members have jumped into action, signing up for frontline duty. Over 1,500 people by count have already become engaged in this relief effort from our church. More have signed up and shall be serving. One member even bought a boat. I don't know where he found it or what store he got it in order to join a rescue team. He was so moved. And then there are stories of our own church families who've suffered and been damaged themselves. Stories like Jim and Lauren Siemens. When I learned of their plight on Wednesday evening, feeling bad that I had just heard, I quickly called. By the way, isn't it good that the power grid, for the most part, did not go down? We had our cell phones, we had our emails. They kept on coming. I called and I said, I'm so sorry, I've just learned. What can we do to help? She said, you've already helped. I said, oh. She said, I reached out to our Sunday school class, and then my Bible study found out we've had over 40 people here the last 2 days helping us. Hard at work, gloves on. And since there were so many here, I sent them next door to our neighbors because they don't have a church home. And he's got cancer, and they're helping that family as well. Then she added, I don't know how people make it who don't have a church home. The next day, Bishop Hayes and I began making the rounds, going out to those neighborhoods that had been affected in our area and visiting with members whose homes have been affected and other homes where we just had work teams already helping the people who were strangers to us but not strangers to God. And we bring people together and thank them and then offer prayer. It's just so humbling seeing our people at work already there scrubbing, cleaning, tearing out sheetrock, raking out muck. And Pastor Brent Parker, he's our pastor at the campus at Wood Forest. He and I made the rounds there. There's a whole large neighborhood which also was affected. I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 homes that I saw taking in significant amounts of water. I can tell you this, if there was anyone in the Wood Forest community that did not know that there is a new church in town, meeting at Stewart Elementary, in fact, the only church in town, I can tell you they know now. Because those church members at the Wood Forest campus, what they have done and are doing to help that community get back on its feet is awesome. I've heard from so many who got hit. Some by phone call, mostly by email, text messages. One of our good members, Tom Cox Jr., texted me. He said, I want to be a testimony to the church and what they did for me. Everyone needs to know what they did. Rev, that's what he calls me, R-E-V, Rev, as in most holy reverend. He says, Rev, they were like Christian ninjas. I've got to look up that word, ninjas. My house was smoked and I was overwhelmed, and people, I don't even know their names, they showed up from the church. Believe me, they were the hands and feet of God. After one of our muck teams, that's what they're called, Sherry Llewellyn, John Hull, Stacy Brady, they've already got these forces out. After a team spent a full day tearing out sheetrock, scraping out muck, sanitizing a house, I got this text: your members are a force that brought tears to my eyes, selfless, on purpose. They won the day. I want everyone to know the power. One of the families that Bishop Hayes and I visited, a family a number of you would know, they've been members a long time, the Hickeys. Their house was flooded. Don and Beth, we offered words of encouragement, visited. Then we asked to gather around those that were toward the front of the house. We stepped out onto the driveway, and Bishop Hayes offered the prayer. Before he did, I said, Don, I know this has got to be just overwhelming, both emotionally and physically. Don, there was a pause, and he's not the emotional type, but his eyes were moist with tears. There was this pause, and then he said, you're right. It is emotionally and physically overwhelming. And then he added, but Ed, I want to tell you what else is overwhelming. It is the outpouring of love and support that we've experienced from our church and our friends. We've had church members that we don't even know their names here working. Don said, I don't own a generator, and I've got two now sitting in the garage. He says, the love, don't forget, it also is overwhelming. Friends, here's a thought that came to me Wednesday or Thursday. It kind of all blurs together. I thought, small churches are a good place to belong. Small churches are the backbone of Christianity across America. Every hamlet, village, neighborhood. Small churches, they're a good place to belong. Everyone knows your name. The pastor notices when you're missing. And you get to enjoy potluck dinners every couple of months in the fellowship hall. Small churches are a good place to belong. I salute small churches across this land, but here's a thought that came to me. When disaster strikes, when a hurricane blows in and an entire region is traumatized and left reeling, it is mighty good to belong to a large church. Because a large church can marshal resources and raise up an army of volunteers. Because a large church has a ministry, a missionary team of experts in local ministry and recovery, and they know how to mobilize and respond in times of crises. This morning, I'm proud to belong to a large church, because I see what you do to reach out and help people. I am so proud of this congregation, almost 13,000 strong. 13,000 praying, loving, caring, serving, giving members. You make us so proud. Men and women who are signing up to serve on work teams, to help tear out soaked carpet, pull off baseboards, scrub houses clean. Men and women who have unloaded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pickups and SUVs and cars beginning in the rain. And men and women who came together and unloaded an 18-wheeler which arrived here from another Methodist church in North Carolina. I'll tell you that story next Sunday. Already we were received 4 gymnasiums full of supplies.
Well, how do you house it? 4, because it comes in and we ship it on out. We get it to the places where it's needed. We sort it, we categorize it. Babies, diapers, pillows and blankets, shoes and clothing, cleanup supplies, bleach, water, we categorize it. We were doing it out in our atrium until we remembered we had 2 weddings this weekend. And one of them had the reception in the fellowship hall. It looked elegant. You wouldn't have known it the day before. So we got this army of volunteers and said, we've got to move to a new theater. We're going to the gymnasium. Besides, it was overflowing everywhere up and down the hallways. But it comes in, we unload it, we sort it, and we coordinating with Montgomery County and the right forces, we get it deployed to where it's going to do good. It's not just sitting there, it's in use. You make me so proud. When you need to fight a war, the thought came to me, it's good to have a large, well-trained, highly motivated, properly equipped army. Because when you need to fight a war, you want to win that war. And when it comes to winning a war, I think a large army is better. Or in this case, should I say, a large navy. I'm so proud that we've got 13,000 soldiers marching as to war with the cross of Jesus going ever before, ready to fight, ready to serve, ready to give. I'm proud of our church, and with good reason, because you've never forgotten. Because you've never forgotten what matters most. It's what Scripture teaches. It's what the Apostle John, as he neared the end of his life, the only apostle who did not die a martyr's death, but was imprisoned in his old age, and he wrote a letter to these new Christians, and he wanted to make sure that they knew what the main thing was. And so he said to them, never forget, never forget. The message, this is the message that you've heard from the beginning. We should love one another. My friends, you've never forgotten, and your love has never shined more brightly than it has this past week. We are so proud of you. I believe God is proud of you. I'm going to ask Bishop Page to come and to lead us in a prayer before we have time of communion, or prayer for those who are hurting, who are in need, all over this greater Gulf Coast area, from Corpus Christi to Beaumont. People even now who don't know how they're going to make it and go forward, who've been affected in ways much more significant than our immediate area here at the Woodlands. People who are wondering if God cares, if God remembers. I'm going to ask Bishop Hayes now to come and lead us in that prayer for them.
Let us pray. O gracious and ever-loving, ever-giving God, it was the psalmist who wrote in his 139th chapter, "Where can we go from your spirit? Or where can we flee from your presence? If we ascend to heaven, you are there. If we make our bed in Sheol, you are there. If we take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest parts and limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead us, and your right hand shall hold us fast." And so we come to you this morning, Lord, realizing that we have not been forsaken, that you are still there, because we can count on you to be there for us whenever we need it. And centuries later, you sent a prophet named Jesus who explained it to us in ways that we could never even imagine, who said to us that if you have a God who so clothes the grass of the field and the birds of the air, who neither sow nor reap nor have storehouse or barn, yet God feeds them, how much more are we than they? For he even said, even a sparrow does not fall to the ground without his knowledge, and even the number of hairs that are on our head are known by him. And I would go so far to say that even the number of hairs we left in our comb or brush this morning, God knows about them. That's how awesome you are. And so we come today knowing that you have not forsaken us. We come also knowing that most of the people in here can only imagine what those who have lost everything are going through. We can only imagine how it feels to walk away from home that you will never return to lose everything that you have accumulated in your life. We can only imagine what that's like. But there's one other thing that we can imagine. We can imagine a God who can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. We can imagine a God who will not let a storm divide us or separate us from you. We can imagine a God who will make all things new, who has the power to even bring resurrection from death. So resurrect our spirits. Let those who are suffering know that they have not been forgotten or neglected, because you are at work. You are at work even in the midst of the storm. And that there's nothing in all of life that will ever be able to separate us, because your eye and your hand and your love are upon us. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's in the name now of the one that you sent to love us. It's in the power of his word and in the goodness of his message that we know you are with us and that your eyes are upon us. It is in his name we pray. Amen.